The snow was falling in thick, white blankets over the Navarro family estate. I pulled my old, dented Prius up to the gate, the engine rattling in the cold night air. I was holding a small gift bag with a scarf for my mother. Tonight was the big New Year's Eve party, and despite how they usually treated me, I wanted to be there. I stepped out, shivering as the wind bit through my thin jacket. At the front door, a massive security guard blocked my path. I tried to walk past, but he put a heavy hand on my chest. From behind him, my stepsister Chloe appeared. She was wearing a designer gown that probably cost more than my car. She looked at me with a smirk that made my skin crawl. "Sorry, sweetie," Chloe said, her voice dripping with fake pity. "Family only this year. We have very important guests coming, and honestly, you just don't fit the vibe." I stood there, stunned. "Chloe, I am family," I whispered. She just laughed and shut the door in my face. The bright party lights reflected in my eyes as I stood alone in the dark. I walked back to my car, my boots crunching on the frozen gravel. The rejection felt like a physical weight in my chest. I sat in the driver's seat and stared at the mansion. It was glowing with warmth and expensive music. Just as I was about to turn the key, my phone buzzed in my pocket. I pulled it out, expecting a text from my mom asking where I was. Instead, it was a high-priority notification from my banking app. My breath hitched as I read the words on the screen. "Transaction confirmed, wire transfer of $3.2 billion completed." The numbers seemed to dance in front of my eyes. $3.2 billion. It was the final payment for Neurospan AI, the company I had built in my bedroom over the last 5 years. To everyone inside that house, I was just Elena, the boring dropout who couldn't keep a real job. They had no idea I was now one of the wealthiest women in the country. I wiped a stray tear from my cheek and gripped the steering wheel. I looked at the mansion one last time. "I guess it's time they found out," I whispered. As I drove, my mind drifted back to how I became the forgotten daughter. I had always been the quiet one, the brilliant coder who preferred a keyboard to a conversation. I even had dropped out of MIT because the classes moved too slowly for me. My stepfather, who never liked me, mocked me constantly for living in a fantasy world. He told everyone I was a loser who played with toys. When he retired, he gave every single share of his logistics company to Chloe. He told me I wasn't responsible enough to handle even a small part of the family business. "Chloe is a leader," he had said. "You're just a dreamer, Elena." I took that hurt and turned it into code. I worked 18 hours a day on an AI that could think better than any human. I was pulled back to the present by my phone ringing again. It was a famous tech journalist. "Hello? Is this Elena Navarro?" he asked, sounding excited. "Is it true you're the mystery founder of Neurospan AI?" I stayed silent, realizing the secret I had kept for years was finally breaking loose. I didn't answer the journalist. I hung up the phone and tossed it onto the passenger seat. I needed a moment to breathe, but the world wouldn't let me. A second later, the phone rang again. This time it was Clark, my former boss from the small firm I worked at before I went fully independent. He sounded like he was having a heart attack. "Elena. Pick up. Please tell me the rumors aren't true," Clark screamed into the voicemail as I watched the call go through. "Please tell me you didn't really sell your startup to Alurex for billions. If that was the project you were working on while you were under my contract, we have a massive problem." I pulled my car over to the side of the road and opened my laptop. I used my phone's hotspot to check the news. My heart stopped. My face was everywhere. The headline on the biggest tech site read, "The Ghost Billionaire, Unknown Engineer Behind $3.2 billion Acquisition Revealed." My name was trending at #1 on every social media platform. The quiet life I loved was gone, and the sharks were starting to circle. I watched the screen as the world reacted to me. Social media was exploding with my name. "Who is Elena Navarro?" people asked. I saw posts from people I hadn't talked to since middle school. They were posting old photos of us, claiming to be my best friends. One girl who used to call me a nerd to my face posted a long paragraph about how she always knew I was a genius. It was sickening to see how fast people changed when money was involved. I refreshed my feed and saw that the news had reached the local stations. They were already sending reporters out to find me. I was no longer the invisible girl in the old Prius. It was the biggest story of the year. Suddenly, a message popped up on my private Instagram. It was from Chloe. The same girl who had just kicked me out in the snow was now sending me a direct message. "Hey sis, it's Chloe. We really need to talk. I think there was a big misunderstanding at the door tonight. Mom is asking for you." I stared at the message, a cold smile forming on my face. She was finally scared. I didn't reply to Chloe's message. Instead, I opened our family group chat. It was usually just Chloe boasting about her expensive trips or her new tech connections. I scrolled up and saw her talking about a new deal she was working on, acting like she was the queen of the industry. My mother had asked a question an hour ago. "Elena, what is all this news people are calling me about? Are you okay?" Before I could answer her back then, Chloe had deleted her message. She probably didn't want her ruining the vibe of her party with questions about her loser stepsister. I felt a surge of anger. She didn't just exclude me, she was trying to erase me from my own mother's life. I took a deep breath and started typing. My fingers flew across the screen. "I'm fine, Mom," I wrote. "I'm actually great. But maybe you should ask Chloe why she had a security guard ban me from the house tonight. Ask her why she told me I wasn't family." I hit send before I could change my mind. I watched the red receipts appear one by one, waiting for the explosion. The group chat went absolutely silent for about 10 seconds. Then, it exploded. My mother's messages came fast and furious. "What? Chloe, is this true? Did you turn your sister away in the snow?" I could imagine the scene inside the mansion. The music was probably still playing, but the mood was shifting. Guests would be looking at their phones, seeing the news, and then looking at Chloe. My mother must have called Chloe's name from across the room because she stopped replying to the chat. I heard from a cousin who was still inside that my mom walked right up to Chloe in front of the city's most important people. She demanded to know the truth. The guests began to whisper. They weren't talking about the party anymore, they were talking about the billionaire sister who was left outside. Chloe finally typed a response, but it was desperate. "She's lying. Elena is just jealous of my success. She's broken and trying to ruin my night with fake news stories." She was digging her own grave. Chloe was still trying to hide the truth, but the truth was pulling up to her gate. Chloe was busy lying to my mother and her guests, the outside world was arriving. A huge news van from the national network pulled up to the mansion gates. Then another one arrived. Bright lights began to cut through the falling snow as reporters jumped out with microphones. They were all looking for one person, Elena Navarro, the Billionaire founder. The security guard Chloe had hired looked confused. He was used to keep people out, but now he was being swarmed by cameras and famous journalists. The guests inside the house started to notice the comfort through the windows. They realized that the important guests Chloe had promised weren't nearly as important as the woman who was currently the most famous person in tech. I decided it was time to finish what Chloe started. I pulled my Prius back toward the estate. The reporters saw my car and rushed toward it, thinking I was just a delivery driver. I pulled up to the gate and rolled down my window. I didn't say a word. The gate guard looked at me, then at the news cameras, and his face went pale with realization. The guard quickly pushed the button to open the gates. I drove slowly up the long driveway, surrounded by a sea of flashing cameras. I parked right at the front door, the same door that had been shut in my face an hour ago. I stepped out of the car. I wasn't wearing a gown. I was still in my jeans and my thin jacket, but the way people looked at me had changed completely. I walked into the house. The room went dead silent. Hundreds of wealthy people stared at me like I was royalty. Chloe was standing near the bar, her face a mixture of terror and fake joy. She tried to walk toward me, holding out her hand. Elena. Sister. I was just telling everyone there was a mistake at the door. I stopped and looked her right in the eyes. I didn't take her hand. The room was so quiet you could hear the fire crackling in the hearth. Don't, I said, my voice cold and loud enough for everyone to hear. You told me I wasn't family, Chloe. You told me I didn't fit the vibe. My mother stepped forward to speak, but her eyes rolled back, and she fainted right onto the floor. The silence was broken by screams. I rushed to my mother's side, pushing past the stunned guests. Chloe just stood there, frozen, looking at the cameras that were now filming through the open door. I didn't care about the money or the fame anymore. I picked my mother up and shouted for someone to call an ambulance. Minutes later, we were at the emergency room. I sat in a plastic chair in the hallway, my head in my hands. The hospital was quiet, a sharp contrast to the madness at the mansion. A doctor walked out, looking at a clipboard. He stopped when he saw me and squinted. Are you Elena Navarro? He asked. I nodded slowly. The one who just sold the AI company for billions? I'm just her daughter, I replied softly. He told me she was stable but had suffered a fainting spell caused by extreme emotional stress. I felt a pang of guilt. My success has caused this. Just then, I got a high-priority message from the CEO of AllureX. Elena, the world is waiting. We'd like you on stage tomorrow morning for the official announcement. I looked at the door to my mother's room, caught between my new empire and the woman who raised me. I sat by my mother's bed for hours. She looked so small under the hospital blankets. The world outside was screaming for me, but I didn't want to leave her. My phone was vibrating nonstop with offers for interviews and book deals. Chloe kept calling, probably trying to apologize before I cut her out of my life forever. I ignored it all. Around 3 a.m., my mother opened her eyes. She reached out and squeezed my hand. Her voice was just a whisper, but it was clear. Elena, she said. I heard what they were saying. I'm so proud of you. Not because of the money, but because you stayed true to yourself. I told her I was going to stay with her and skip the press conference. She shook her head and gave me a weak smile. No. You've worked too hard for this. Go tell the world what you built. Don't let them silence you again, especially not Chloe. I looked at her, and she nodded firmly. I knew she was right. I kissed her forehead and headed for the airport. As I boarded the private jet AllureX sent for me, I realized the real battle was just beginning. The press conference was held in a massive glass auditorium. Thousands of people were there, and millions more were watching online. The CEO of AllureX, a man named Sterling, stood at the podium. He was beaming. Today is a historic day, he announced. We are introducing the mind behind the next generation of ethical AI. Please welcome, Elena Navarro. I walked onto the stage. The light from 1,000 camera flashes was blinding. I stood at the mic and looked out at the crowd. I didn't have a prepared speech. I just spoke from the heart. I talked about the long nights of coding and the people who told me I would never amount to anything. I want to thank my mother, I said into the microphone. She was the only one who believed in the boring daughter. This success belongs to her. I noticed that I didn't mention my stepfather or Chloe once. I didn't even look in their direction. I was reclaiming my own life, on my own terms. But as I stepped off the stage, my phone pinged with a news alert. Chloe was fighting back. The news alert was a link to a video Chloe had just posted. She was sitting in a high-end office, looking like a victim. I'm saddened to have to do this, Chloe said to the camera, pretending to be hurt. But I have to protect the truth. Elena didn't build Neurospan alone. We worked on it together in our father's basement. I provided the strategy and the funding. I couldn't believe her. She was desperate to get her hands on my success. She even had a fake lawsuit ready, claiming she was a co-founder and was entitled to half of the $3.2 billion. She was trying to ruin my reputation just as it was being built. She wanted the world to think I was a thief who stole from her own sister. My lawyer walked up to me with a grim expression. "Elena, we just got served. It's a cease and desist from Chloe's legal team. They're trying to freeze the acquisition funds until a judge reviews her claim of being a co-founder. Chloe was playing a dangerous game, and she was willing to burn everything down to win. Chloe thought she was smart. She thought that because we lived in the same house, she could claim we shared the work. But I was a coder, and code doesn't lie. My legal team went to work immediately. We didn't just have words, we had the digital footprint of every single line of code I had ever written for Neurospan. We released a massive document to the press. It showed years of timestamps, patent filings, and code commits, all signed by my digital key and recorded on a private server. Most of these were dated years before Chloe even knew what AI stood for. The documents showed I was working on this while Chloe was out spending our stepfather's money on expensive parties and cars. Within hours, Chloe's proof started to collapse. The public saw her for what she was, a jealous stepsister trying to steal a fortune. The internet turned on her instantly. But just as I thought I had won, a new message arrived from Allurex's legal department. A second person had come forward with a claim. It was Clark, my former manager from the firm where I once worked. Clark's claim was even more dangerous than Chloe's. He wasn't just a jealous sibling, he was a former employer. He told the press that I had stolen corporate data and used his company's resources to build Neurospan. Elena was a genius, Clark told a reporter. But she was a genius in my time, using my computers. That makes the AI my property. The media, which had just been praising me, began to pivot. Did the ghost billionaire steal her code? The headlines asked. The acquisition deal was frozen by the bank. Allurex told me they couldn't move forward with the payment until a full investigation was completed. My $3.2 billion was suddenly out of reach, and my name was being dragged through the mud. I sat in my hotel room, feeling the walls close in. I knew I hadn't stolen anything. I had built everything on my own time, on my own hardware. But Clark and Chloe were working together now, combining their lies to crush me. They wanted to make sure that if they couldn't have the money, neither could I. The investigation was brutal. Allurex's lawyers dug through every email, every file, and every chat I had ever sent. They questioned everyone I had ever worked with. The press wouldn't leave me alone. Every time I stepped outside, I was swarmed by people asking if I was a thief. The comment sections online were a nightmare of doubt. I knew it was too good to be true, one person wrote. Just another tech thief who stole from her boss. I felt like I was losing my mind. My mother was still in the hospital, recovering slowly, and I couldn't even tell her the truth because I didn't want to break her heart again. Everything I had worked for was slipping through my fingers because of two greedy people. Then, my phone rang. It was my mother. Her voice sounded much stronger. "Elena," she said. "I've been watching the news. I know what they're saying. They think you built it at that office, don't they?" I told her that was the problem. "Go home, Elena," she whispered. "I know where the real proof is. Look in your childhood desk." I flew back to my hometown that night, avoiding the news vans. I snuck into my mother's house through the back door. It felt strange to be back in my old room. It was small and dusty, filled with old textbooks and broken computer parts. I walked over to my childhood desk, the place where I had first learned to code when I was 10 years old. I began to search through the drawers. At first, I found nothing but old papers. But then, I felt a loose board at the back of the bottom drawer. I pulled it away and found a small, black encrypted hard drive. I remembered it now. It was my legacy drive. I had used it to back up all my early prototypes long before I ever met Clark or worked for his company. I plugged it into my laptop. The drive contained thousands of files. They were the original foundations of Neurospan, all time-stamped years before I even took the job at Clark's firm. It was the smoking gun that proved the code was mine. I felt a wave of relief. but as I turned to leave, I saw a shadow. Chloe had followed me. The door to my room creaked open, and Chloe stepped in. She wasn't smirking anymore. She looked desperate and angry. She saw the hard drive in my hand and her eyes lit up with greed. "So that's it, huh?" she spat. "The little secret that makes you a billionaire? Give it to me, Elena. If that drive disappears, your proof disappears." I stood my ground, clutching the drive. "Chloe, this is enough. You've already ruined your life. Don't make it worse." She didn't listen. She lunged at me, and we scuffled in the middle of my old room. She managed to knock the drive out of my hand. She scrambled for it, grabbed it, and shoved me back against the wall. "Let's see who's the leader now," Chloe hissed, backing out of the room. She ran down the stairs and out the front door before I could catch her. I heard her car tire scream as she sped away. She thought she had just stolen my future. She thought she had finally won. I sat on the floor of my room, but I wasn't chasing her. I was checking my watch. I sat there for a moment, catching my breath, and then I faintly smiled. I hadn't been as careless as Chloe thought. I knew Chloe was the type of person who would try to steal her way to the top. I had expected her to follow me. The black hard drive she had just stolen wasn't my real legacy drive. It was a decoy I had prepared weeks ago when the lawsuits first started. The decoy drive didn't contain my code. It contained a very sophisticated hidden GPS tracker and a specialized piece of software that would record the IP address of any computer it was plugged into. I opened my phone and pulled up the tracking app. A bright red dot was already moving rapidly across the map of the city. Chloe was heading straight for her lawyer's office. She was so eager to destroy my proof that she was leading me exactly to where she was hiding her legal strategy. I watched as the dot stopped at a high-rise downtown. "Got you," I whispered to the empty room. I haven't called the police yet. I had a much bigger plan for Chloe's final exposure. I didn't just want Chloe arrested, I wanted the whole world to see her true face. I set up a live stream on my social media account, which now had millions of followers. "The Truth About the Theft," I titled it. I told my viewers I was heading to retrieve a stolen item. Thousands of people tuned in instantly as I drove toward the downtown office building. I walked into the lawyer's office with my phone held high, filming everything. Chloe was there, sitting at a desk, trying to plug the decoy drive into a laptop. When she saw me and realized I was broadcasting live to 5 million people, her face went from triumph to pure horror. "What are you doing here?" she yelled, trying to hide the drive. Just then, the police I had called arrived. They seized the stolen drive as the livestream captured every second. The IP logs and the tracker proved Chloe had broken into my mother's home to steal evidence. The truth flooded the internet in real time. Chloe's stepfather, who had supported her, resigned from his company in disgrace an hour later. The aftermath of the livestream was total. Clark dropped his lawsuit immediately, fearing he would be next for a police investigation. Allurex unfroze the funds, and the $3.2 billion finally hit my account for real. But the money didn't feel as good as the moment I walked back into my mother's hospital room. She was sitting up, watching the news on the small TV. She had tears in her eyes as she looked at me. "I'm so sorry, Elena," she whispered. "I'm sorry I didn't stand up for you against them for all those years. I let them treat you like you were nothing." I walked over and hugged her tightly. She had been caught in the middle of a toxic family for a long time, and I knew it wasn't her fault. "It's done, Mom," I said, my voice steady. "They can't touch us anymore. We're going to get you out of here and start a new life. A quiet one." I felt a sense of peace I hadn't known in years. But as we were talking, my phone buzzed again. It was Allurex. They had a new offer. Allurex's CEO, Sterling, called me with a proposal that changed everything. "Elena, the world has seen your integrity," he said. "They don't just want your AI, they want your leadership. We want you to lead a brand new ethical AI foundation under your own name." It was a massive opportunity to use my wealth for something that actually mattered. I told him I would do it, but I had one major condition. I didn't want the foundation to be about making more billions. I want half of the initial funding to go towards scholarships for underprivileged students, I told him. I want to find the girls who are sitting in their bedrooms coding alone, just like I was, and give them the support I never had. Sterling agreed without hesitation. A week later, I stood on a new stage. This time with my mother sitting in the front row, looking healthy and proud. The news was no longer about a stolen company, it was about the Elena Navarro Foundation. My name trended again, but this time, it was for the good I was doing. Chloe was waiting for trial, her assets frozen and her reputation completely ruined. She was no longer the queen of the tech world, she was a cautionary tale about greed. She tried to reach out to me several times, even attempting to record a public apology video from her lawyer's office to gain sympathy. She looked pathetic, begging for the sisterly love she had never shown me. I refused every request for an interview about her. I didn't want to give her drama any more oxygen. I had a simple statement released through my team: some lessons can't be bought, and some bridges can't be rebuilt. I was done being the victim of her games. I had moved on to building a future, while she was stuck in the wreckage of her past. The day before New Year's Eve, a courier arrived at my new office. He handed me a single, handwritten letter. It was from Chloe, sent from her holding cell. I stared at the envelope for a long time before I finally decided to open it. I expected more threats, but the first line of the letter stopped my heart. "I've spent a lot of time thinking about why I hated you so much," Chloe wrote. The letter wasn't full of the usual anger. She admitted that her stepfather's favoritism had broken her. She was told she had to be the winner and that I was the loser she had to step on to stay at the top. She confessed that her jealousy was a cage she had built for herself. I sat in my office, looking out at the city lights. I felt a strange sense of pity for her. She had been a villain, yes, but she was also a product of a man who taught her that money was the only way to be loved. I realized that if I stayed angry forever, I was still letting Chloe control my emotions. I took out a piece of paper and wrote back. I told her I forgave her for the past, but that things would never be the same. I drew a hard line: we were not friends, and we were not business partners. I wished her luck in finding who she was without the shadow of the Navarro name. I sealed the letter and sent it. I looked at the calendar. It was New Year's Eve again. 1 year later, the snow was falling again, but the scene was very different. I wasn't sitting in a Prius at a gate I couldn't enter. I was hosting a quiet New Year's Eve dinner at my own home, a beautiful, peaceful place in the hills. My mother sat beside me, laughing as we looked at old photos. There were no news crews and no fake friends. I stood up and raised a glass to the small group of people who had actually been there for me when I was boring Elena. "To peace," I said, my voice warm. "To peace, not payback." We watched the fireworks light up the sky over the city. I felt a vibration in my pocket. It was a brief update from Alorex. The foundation's valuation had hit $12 billion, and our first group of scholarship students had just been accepted into top universities. I smiled and put the phone away. I didn't need to check the news to know who I was anymore. I was exactly where I was supposed to be. This year, they didn't ban me, they celebrated with me.